Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to AM Impact on Your Health. AM Impact on Your Health, where every day our goal is to have you learn at least one thing to help you live better and longer. AM Impact on Your Health is heard each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney, and I'm with you each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9. AM Impact on Your Health, where each day you'll find current medical news, knowledgeable guests, fascinating health topics, and of course, where we do encourage you to call in to join in. Today, well, it is a Monday, and once a month we meet with our expert on all things microcurrent. Of course, her name is Shannon Ghost, and she hails from Jacksonville, Florida, and she's been a steady guest here now for, I think this is the 4th month in a row. Today, she's going to spend another bit of time with us. And in an unusual way, a Monday morning, open them up out of town version of the show, because I want you to feel that you can call in and ask microcurrent questions today. Many of you out there have heard us do the shows. You may be itching and chomping at the bit to get involved with microcurrent for your particular medical issues. This is the day to pose those questions to our good friend Shannon Ghost, and I think she'll have an answer for you. And it will really help you in setting the tone and the pattern for the protocols that you ultimately could be participating with. So a little oddity on a Monday to have open phones, but specific topic of microcurrent stimulation, which we now have, we've been incorporating in our practice now for many, many months, and it's going to be nothing but super acceleration and further involvement in my practice from this point forward. Microcurrent stimulation, frequency specific, called FSM, our topic today. Shannon Gosen, our guest. All right, now how things are shaping up on Wednesday. This is, by the way, your Lyme disease treatment center, and you'll become quite comfortable with that. There is no place I know of in this region that offers themselves up as such, because normally Lyme disease is so difficult to treat. But on Wednesday, I'm going to be dealing with the particular protocols involved with Lyme disease, and specifically Lyme disease with the use of 2 modalities that you're very comfortable with, ozone therapy as well as LDA. We're going to call that the anti-zone. You'll see what I mean by that, but our Wednesday show devoted strictly to the treatment of Lyme disease in a protocol that I believe will win and conquer in this particular domain in a way that has never been seen before. At least all earmarks pointing in that direction. On Friday, we'll spend a bit of time with Michelle Garlitz. She is the head cook and bottle washer of a thermography group located here in the South Hills known as HEAT. And the reason she'll be on board with us Friday is to just invite you, if you're in the South Hills area of Pittsburgh and like to know more about thermography, never had the opportunity to question somebody and find out how it could be beneficial to you, they're going to have an open house there at HEAT, which is at 110 Fort Catch Road. That is directly across the street from a pretty large attraction called South Hills Village. Anyway, Fort Catch Road, 110. It's going to be an open house, 4 to 7. That's going to be on Wednesday, the 28th. So Michelle will be talking to you Friday about the open house. And if you are in the South Hills and like to know more about it, it's an open invite to you. We'll try to give you as much information as we can with Michelle when she's here on Friday. Tastings, and Joe Giuliano is coming to town now. He was our guest on Friday. I guess we'll have him for a short bit of time this coming Friday, rather. And he's going to be at Balance for Wellness up there on Route 8 at Dr. Lori Lanquich's operation at 6 o'clock. There'll be a Beresha tasting there. Then there'll be a special one held at the Crown Plaza on Tuesday night, and that'll be at 6:30 at the Crown Plaza, right across the street, again from South Hills Village, where Joe Giuliano will meet with you, and there'll be another Beresha tasting. We will be in attendance at at both of those. So hope to see you and meet you and greet you there. And let me see. That about rounds out the Baresh's tastings for the month. Of course, today begins, and obviously, no one who's listening today could become a part of today's eye treatment program. A 3-day program begins today here in my office, 19, 20, and 21. I'll give you a little bit of a upgrade as to how all things went when Wednesday rolls around, and prepare you for those who would like to be involved with the eye treatment program. We try to offer these once a month. Next month, in February, the dates for the 3-day program will be February 16, 17, and 18. That's 16, 17, and 18. Plenty of time to be involved with that one if you have an interest. Why don't you give us a call at 724-942-3002. That's 724-942-3002. So talk to Sister Sarah, and she'll let you know all about it. Now, LDA, now being referred to with the autoimmune diseases as LDI, has made a big splash here on our airways with the 2 shows we've done with Dr. Ty Vincent. The first show we did, and it's up, and it is a clear copy of the show, was done back in December. December 8th was the date of that particular show. Then this month, Ty came back, and we had an additional show we put up for the 12th of the month. Originally, that was a garbled version. It has been replaced. The new crystal clear version is up. I suggest anybody with Lyme's disease or any autoimmune disease head to the show, those 2 shows. I'd also say that the list of shows, the list of all the autoimmune disorders, which I think goes hand in hand with listening to Dr. Ty Vincent, is a show I did on the 14th. So more and more information is becoming available about autoimmune disease in general, as well as Lyme's disease in particular, because the new play is that this disease is a double whammy. It is a microbial disorder, starting with a tick bite, and infects you with Borrelia and Babesia and a whole other group of strains. But if not corrected in the first couple of weeks with antibiotics, and it really is, it moves to another aspect and metamorphosis into an autoimmune disease. And once it's autoimmune, the conventional treatments of antibiotic after antibiotic just will not cut it. So if you are afflicted with that particular disorder or any of the autoimmune disorders, and I went through a lengthy list of them on the January 14th show, please enjoy going through that show. If you find your disease, many people have been told by their doctors that they suffer from a specific problem, but then they don't elaborate as to spelling out that that's an autoimmune disease. And as such, if you have an autoimmune disease, then you're looking with LDI to have a complete correction possible, and hopefully you'll take us up on learning more about it. And as time moves on, especially our Wednesday show, when we're talking about autoimmune diseases, how we're going to be correcting them, I hope you want to come aboard and listen, and be prepared to come on in and schedule an appointment with us so we can talk about your particular protocol that you're going to require to get your problem rectified. All right, let's do this, folks. We're going to take a short break. In the interim, we're going to connect with a good friend. It's a Microcurrent Monday. Shannon Gosens is going to be our guest today. We're going to open the phones up to you. If you've got a mind to ask a question about microcurrent therapies, anything at all, this is the lady to ask. This is the one to get that question answered in a very specific way. We'll be back in a moment with Shannon. Another Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back once again to AIM Impact on Your Health. Heard here in KHB 620 each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney with you today in a Monday morning version of the show. And as we do each and every month, a show dedicated to the topic that is going to take a lot of prominence, play a lot of prominent role, a large prominent role in this office in 2015. We're so happy to be able to be associated with this young lady because she knows so much about this particular topic, which really eludes most. The topic is FSM, frequency-specific microcurrent, and how microcurrent can help you get your issues resolved, and rather quickly, I might add. She hails from Jacksonville, Florida, and she's been involved with microcurrent for a number of years. She's our go-to expert on the subject. Her name is Shannon Gossis. She's with us right now. Good morning, Shannon. Welcome aboard today.
Good morning, Dennis. I'm so glad to be back with you again. The show has been an absolute delight, and I can tell you that I have been contacted by people from as far as Boston, Massachusetts, to someone in Florida, from someone that heard the show when they were in Pittsburgh. So it's really nice to hear these interesting connections on where your listeners are.
Yeah, I mean, they're all over the place, and nice to hear they're responding to you down there in Florida, because you actually, in a circuitous way, you got a couple patients came to you literally through a roundabout way of getting the message passed on that you got to see Shannon in Jacksonville, and lo and behold, it happened. So there'll be more and more of that stuff happening, I'm sure. We want patients to maybe have their circuitous route necessary for them, but directly listening to us today, and they're very fascinated with this subject of microcurrent, and in particular FSM, frequency-specific microcurrent, of which you are an expert. Now, Shannon, you and I have known this for a while, and I think I maybe have mentioned on the air, we've known one another for many, many years, and you've been a visitor to Pittsburgh on more than one occasion. Got your own favorite restaurants and the like. You've been here so much.
Yeah.
But you're inbound to Pittsburgh. You're coming up there this month, and probably time to reveal to our listeners, what are you coming up to Pittsburgh for? What is it that's on your agenda? What will be the mission that you'll try to accomplish when here? And you're coming the last weekend of the month. But go ahead. Why don't you tell our listeners?
So I will be there in less than 2 weeks now, Dennis, and I'm very thankful that I will be able to spend all day Friday in your office with you on January 29th, and I look forward to seeing patients with you, and we will be focusing on how you will be able to more extensively than you already are incorporate using frequency-specific microcurrent and microcurrent therapies in order to help patients that are having physical medicine and chronic pain problems. So I think I've already got some people lined up that I will be able to see with you on Friday. And then on Saturday, I will get to spend the day with you and your staff. And we are going to do an intensive training on the different applications of using the equipment and how I actually use a algorithm to sort out what's going on with patients from a physical medicine standpoint, and then how we decide what frequencies are going to help them the most and how to apply it. Additionally, I'll be able to share with your staff and you the best ways to program devices so that patients can take those home for home treatment, and then also purchase devices so they can treat themselves as often as they want when they're at home. And remember, there's so much more that we can do with the frequency devices and microcurrent devices above and beyond actually treating physical medicine problems. So I am thrilled that I get to come back to Pittsburgh. As you know, I have all kinds of colleagues there from the world of myofascial pain, and looking forward to seeing everybody and getting an entire program set up in Pittsburgh with you.
Yeah, we're very excited to have you here, Shannon, and we've been planning this for quite a while. It's finally going to come to pass. the folks, I mean, your Friday is going to be very busy with us in the office because I think we've got you scheduled for most of the day, one after another. Patients, we've already begun treatment or at least have a discussion about treating them with like frequency specific. We'd just like to have you take a look and make sure we've either hit this dead on or if we've made an error, how to correct ourselves. And I don't think there's any finer way of assuring everybody, including patients and clinicians alike, that we got the best, their best interest in mind. And I think that to have you just take a look at what we've done and what corrections may need to be put into play, which we gladly something we'll do. With you coming up on Friday, this has been our goal and objective for quite some time. Then the Saturday occasion for you and me and the staff is really getting down in the weeds, the real nitty gritty about how it is that you program these devices, and the devices you're using are chosen by you as probably the best representatives of the units that are available out there. We probably should talk a bit more about those before our show ends today. But I want to ask a question, and I think to get this going, and I have opened it up today for anybody who does have a question out there for Shannon on microcurrent. You're sitting back thinking, well, maybe this could be something to help me, but you have some doubts, you have some questions about it. Today's the day to get those questions up and aired for everybody to listen to. So you give us a call at 412-825-6262 and pose that question directly to Shannon, and we'll get an answer for that question from her own repertoire and her ability to assess what your question's all about and get to the crux of the matter. Now, how about this question, Shannon? Because I think it's a good start for our show today. What should the consumer or the patient be looking for in a practice that claims that they do use microcurrent? And I got a feeling that many claim it, but few actually accomplish it, at least in the best possible way that it can be accomplished. So with that rather loaded question, I'm going to turn it over to you because I just guessed that you've got some pretty specific feelings on this matter. Concretely, you've watched this thing develop over years. You've seen it go astray. You've seen it when it's on target. How about taking that question for me? How do people know that they're getting a fair shake with a microcurrent program? Because the claims are out there, yet maybe the performance isn't.
Great question, Dennis. Microcurrent's been around for so long, and it has been used in any kind of physical medicine and clinical practice for so long. And when microcurrent therapies were initially applied pervasively in physical medicine and chiropractic offices and physical therapy, it was just microcurrent and it was non-specific frequencies. And that type of microcurrent therapy is still widely available. And as an acupuncture physician, we actually use general microcurrent as well with acupuncture needles to increase the intensity of the effect of the needles. And those are very general frequencies. It might be 0.3, 0.1, 0.9, 1.2. It may only be single channel. And what I would like to say about that is, remember, microcurrent in and of itself is beneficial to the body, because microcurrent in millionths of an ampere is the frequencies that we are already using for our nervous system and our cells to communicate. So anytime we put microcurrents into the body, it tends to be beneficial and help healing and improve collagen production and protein synthesis. And we learn this about gated ion paths, etc., and how channels open up in cells for them to communicate. So the first thing that I would like to be really clear on is that all microcurrent appears to be very beneficial to the body for cellular communication and healing. When we're talking about specific frequencies, we have learned over a decade of practice from clinical studies and patient outcomes that if we choose very, very specific frequencies for conditions and very, very specific frequencies for tissues, we can actually target very specific problems and very, very quickly change them and resolve them. So what the consumer would want to ask is, are you using a 2-channel microcurrent device where you can choose specific frequencies for specific problems? So there's general microcurrent that may be single channel that just puts microcurrent into the body, which remember is beneficial. And then there's microcurrent that uses 2-channel with specific frequencies for conditions and tissues. And that tends to very specifically change problems that might have to do with nerve inflammation, spinal cord inflammation, healing bone tissue very quickly, healing soft tissue. We even have frequencies that seem to really, really ameliorate the problems of concussion. So that is what the consumer would want to know. Are you trained in using specific frequencies for specific problems? And Dr. McMakin refers to it and coined the term frequency-specific microcurrent. And there are a variety of different types of devices that do this, and people have been trained in a variety of ways. That is the most important thing.
Seems like that's a great place to start. Yes, I use microcurrent, but then the level of sophistication is just microcurrent in general, which I think you emphasize as being beneficial. No doubt about it. I mean, this is the microcurrent at that level of millions of an ampere is helpful, but to be able to specifically program frequencies, that's the next step that you want to make sure you ask about. Now, look, I think we do have a caller that's calling up and asking Shannon a question, as we've invited you to do that at 412-825-6262. Come on ahead. Welcome aboard. You're with Shannon. Go ahead. What's your question?
Good morning, Dr. Courtney. Good morning, Shannon.
Hi.
Do you work with patients, or how do you work with patients that have electronic implanted devices, pacemakers, defibrillators, brain stimulators, stuff like that?
That is a great question. So the first thing everyone would need to know is that all microcurrent devices are categorized under the category of TENS by the FDA. And so when you have an FDA approved device, just 510K approved device, it falls under the requirements of basically the precautions and the contraindications. So with pacemakers, you are not supposed to run a TENS device through anyone. With microcurrent, we have actually had the manufacturers of pacemakers come in, check the microcurrent going through the body and the function of the pacemaker, and one does have to call the manufacturer and give them the parameters of using microcurrent and get permission to do it. As a safety precaution, once we have done that, we never run microcurrent through the chest. So we run it below the rib cage area or at the neck, but never through the pacemaker. If someone has a implanted device, which is either any kind of stimulator, so there's several different types of stimulators, nerve stimulators for pain, different things like that that go into the spine, sometimes the brain. Those have to be able to be turned off. So I will never run microcurrent through anybody that has a stimulator unless it can be turned off. We have had those checked, and they can malfunction because of the way they signal in order for the device to work. When people have insulin pumps, those can be turned off. They have to be turned off before you use a microcurrent device. So the key is, when you have a stimulator, you have to be able to turn it off before you run microcurrent.
How are those machines turned off?
Pardon me?
How are those stimulators turned off? Do you have to go to the doctor's office and have them?
Oh, no. There's several types of stimulators where people are actually given a device that electrically turns them on and off.
Oh, that
There's
would be
a
odd.
switch and you can verify that it's off. If you have a morphine pump that's going into the body where they implant it into the spine, those can usually not be turned off. But definitely an insulin pump can be turned off. Many electrical stimulators can be turned off. And then again, with the pacemaker, you have to check with the manufacturer.
Okay, thank you very much.
Great question. There are people out there that have these devices. I know oftentimes we do a procedure in the office called ECP, and we literally, when it comes to pacemakers, at sometimes whenever the manufacturer says so, we just shut off the pacemaker for the 1 hour that we're doing it. So pacemakers can be turned off too, and with relative ease, I might add. So it looks as though you don't want to run microcurrent through any device that's actually on because of the disturbances that will be obviously invoked by having these two kinds of currents literally clash with one another. But with the device off, there should be no problem. Is that the way you see it, Shannon?
Yes. And for you, Dennis, because you are an MD and a physician, it is actually within the scope of your practice to do that. For me, as an acupuncture physician and a licensed massage therapist, it is not within the scope of my practice to turn a pacemaker off. And I can tell you is the pacemaker companies can give you a special magnet.
Circular magnet.
The patient can actually put that magnet on and pace their pacemaker in such a way that nothing will interfere with it. So that is the other way if the patient gets that. So again, if anyone does have a pacemaker and they're going in for microcurrent therapy, you want to just make sure that it is within the scope of the practice of the practitioner to turn that pacemaker off, as it is for you, Dennis.
Yeah, but just might as well mention too that just because you have a pacemaker doesn't mean that it's actually working to the extent that it's controlling your heart rate. It's only programmed to kick in if for some reason your heart rate decreases rapidly, and then at that point it will pick up and do the pacing. So people with pacemakers are literally walking around. Their own innate rhythms are what guides their heart activity each and every day. The pacemaker has been put in for that rare instance whenever the pacing is required. And so if we find that, and the majority of people that I see with pacemakers, they're on their own innate and natural rhythms. They're not being paced at all. So to turn their pacemaker off isn't a problem for them. They're already using their own innate pacing through the vasculature and nervous system of the heart. And so it's not an issue of, oh my goodness, they're going to turn it off. No, it's a matter of you don't need it to be on for the short amount of time that we'll be utilizing the microcurrent programs. And then once we remove the circular magnet or however that particular device can be allowed to function once again, then you're back and running and you're protected. But for that short period of time, you didn't need the protection. I thought I would clarify that a bit so the public would understand. Hey, do we have another question out there? Come on ahead. Hello? Anybody?
Hi, Dr. Courtney. Hi, Shannon.
Hi.
Hi. My question is about, is there a frequency specific for trigeminal neuralgia? I have a friend of mine whose daughter has had this very severe for many years. She's had 3 different surgeries. One time, one of the surgeries found that the nerves had grown back, which everybody said it wouldn't do. And she had a recent surgery, and most of the pain is gone, but some of the pain is still there, and so she ends up getting addicted to pain medication. So is there anything for either aspect of that?
Take it away, Shannon.
Technically, there is not a frequency for the trigeminal nerve specifically because it's a cranial nerve. Clinically, I can tell you that I have had 2 patients with trigeminal neuralgia, and we had a very, very fast impact on improving it, and one of them we completely resolved in 2 appointments. And that again goes back to that clinical evaluation because people are given diagnoses And sometimes there's a little bit more to the story. And once we have a way to address those other issues and the problem of the nerve, we sometimes can make very, very quick changes. So trigeminal neuralgia is just one of the most devastating problems that people can have, because you can't get away from the pain, and it causes pain into the face. It can go into the forehead, the cheek, and the lower jaw, or any one portion of that. So we do have frequencies for inflammation in the nerve, and those have absolutely helped. And then we have frequencies and ways to treat scar tissue congestion and edema. And those seem to have really made a difference for these people. And then we have frequencies to reboot the nervous system. So in the limited cases that I have had, I have been successful, including when people have had burning tongue syndrome with it. And it is always worth a try, because there's really, really not any long-term way of treating it with traditional medicine. Surgery is always best option immediately when you can get the area decompressed, get the pressure off the nerve as it comes through the canal by the ear. And short of that, there's really nothing they can do other than putting people on anti-seizure medication. So this is something where I would absolutely have this person see someone to see if they can help and bring the inflammation and the congestion down.
And let me ask you, I mean, that's exciting to hear about the nerves, the scar tissue, and the edema. What would be a time frame? Like, you treat someone, and would it have to be like a week in between? I mean, these people live in Orlando, so they're not far away.
Oh, terrific. So in these situations where I have people come in from out of town, I will see them anywhere from 3 to 5 days in a row. And in my particular practice, if I don't see something really significant happen in 3 appointments, it's been my clinical history that I'm not going to do anything in 3 weeks. So we may be able to really, really reduce the pain quickly, but then it comes back. But we know that we're able to reduce the pain. And so then we are on the correct path, and then we do everything to support that. If I see someone 2 or 3 times and absolutely nothing changes, it's my personal opinion from my practice that I'm not going to do anything to be helpful. So what I can tell you is that we know very, very quickly it's either going to work or it's not going to work.
Okay. And in this person's case, or another patient as well, do they usually also, after the treatment, end up going home with their own unit?
So in my particular practice, I like to see that at least 3 to 5 times I can reproduce my results, and also without me being in the room, so my presence isn't interfering with it. I like to see that the frequencies are doing their job on their own without me doing anything. And if I can reproduce those results over and over again, I encourage people to go ahead and get their own microcurrent devices for home care, because in the long run, it's much less expensive. And the way the practice works is we actually look at what the entire medical history is of the patient and sometimes the family, and we address all of the different issues that they might have. And again, always put the emergency medicine and trauma frequencies on the unit, so they have an emergency medical device that they can use if something unfortunate happens with an injury. So that's my policy in my office. I have to prove that the frequencies consistently work, and then if they do, I do encourage people to have their own devices.
Great question.
Very much. This is quite exciting for her, because they've been dealing with this for probably about 14 years. Her life is devastated. So
it's such a really, really rough.
It's just a short drive between Orlando and Jacksonville. Enjoy passing that message on.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Here you go, Shannon. It's working again. More patients are coming your way whenever they're so local to you. That's wonderful. Now, I did hear, and maybe the perfect follow-up question to that is, you were talking about trigeminal neuralgia, but let's allow the listener to benefit for whatever the issue is you're treating, is it your opinion that in three treatments there better be a turnaround? Let me let you answer the question rather than me trying to speak for you. How do you assess whether or not the microcurrent that you're using is going to be suitable for this particular person's problem? How much time frame should there be some response?
If I see someone and their pain significantly or dramatically reduces, I would want to see that pain stay gone for at least a couple of hours. Sometimes we have more. If I have anything less than that, I'm suspicious that I have overlooked something and I need to dig a little bit deeper and there's more to the story. And I give myself 3 appointments to uncover as much as possible, because remember, Dennis, the type of problems that I tend to see most of the time are very, very complicated and long-standing. So there's a lot of information, a lot of history, and a lot of things that have happened with people. And I want to see those kind of changes, and I want to see that the pain reduced, stays gone, and then also function. I need to see improvement in function and however that has interfered, whatever the problem is, how it's interfering with the person's life. So we do actually look at activities of daily living and what people are needing to do in their life, have stopped doing, but want to be able to do or can't do. And I am looking for changes in function as well. And so those 2 things are really the keys to my decision making and how I move forward on what we're going to do. And again, I give myself 3 appointments. And it's so interesting, Dennis, because that 3 appointment rule started with you and my training with Dr. Janet Travell. And we learned in treating myofascial pain, if you get it right and you figure it out and you treat the primary problems from a myofascial perspective, you stretch the muscles, you give the person a home exercise program, you address the perpetuating factors, that you're going to see immediate results if you got it right. And so that has continued in my practice for absolutely everything that I do. Most of the time, I will tell you that on the first or second visit, we have seen dramatic changes for people. So it happens quickly, but I always give myself those 3 appointments because sometimes there's so much involved with what's going on.
Wonderful. The rule of 3s is how we'll follow it. After all, you're training us to be able to reproduce what you can do and have been able to intervene and help so many people with. So the 3 treatment rule, I think, is in play as you impart to us that which you've been able to accrue for a number of years. Now, you started out, and really it was a wonderful way of describing how the consumer, how the patient can figure out if they're getting a fair shake when someone claims to be able to treat with microcurrent. I like the idea of single channel versus dual channel. Any other hints or clues or demystifying ways that the patient or the consumer can whittle through? Many doctors they're so well intended. They want to help people, but they may not even know themselves about the levels of sophistication. So it's the patient that has to be made so acutely aware of how to sift through that to get through just the well intentions and move to the potential resolution of their particular problem. Shannon, what else can you help them with?
Well, they certainly can go to Dr. McMakin's website, and it's frequencyspecific.com, I believe, and they would be able to look at all the practitioners that have been trained by Dr. McMakin. She does have a book out, so there are some practitioners that have just gotten the book. There are people that have been trained through Dr. Ed Condrot, and they have gotten microcurrent training using the Inspire Star. And so I don't know if Dr. Condrot has all of those people listed. Certainly, anybody that has received training in using a dual channel, so there's a channel A and a channel B, microcurrent device that delivers frequencies in millions of an ampere, and they understand that there's specific frequencies for specific conditions. Again, those are the two primary things that you want to be looking for.
Well, now that one opens up a neat little can of worms. So that really benefits somebody listening to us right now. There are two essentially gurus out there that have taken the time to teach others on how to use these devices. Carol McMakin probably kicked this all off herself a number of years ago, and you became affiliated with her very early on in this process. And Dr. Ed Conrad has picked up and has certainly trained a number of us in the use of microcurrent. And so you got to be from one school or the other. Is that the way you got it figured, Shannon?
Well, heavens no. It's, you know, learning is learning, and everybody can learn as much as they want about the frequencies and different applications. And remember, there is not anybody in the United States that knows more about treating the eye with microcurrent than Ed Conrad. So Ed Conrad took microcurrent therapy using these dual channel devices, and he took it to a whole new level on specializing in the eye. And of course, your patients are benefiting from that because you're able to use that system. So there's different people in the United States that specialize in areas that have just surpassed what anybody would have thought of because they were able to specialize in particular areas. So for me, my area of specialization has always been in the physical medicine realm. Dr. Catherine Wilner, who's in Durango, uses all types of energy medicine devices, and she is an expert at modulating the nervous system. Terry Zumwalt is up north. She is a physician in the military, but she works with civilians as well. She is an expert at trauma. So nobody knows more about emotional trauma and post-traumatic stress disorder than Carrie in the way that she's, because that is her entire practice. And then there's John Cale, who's in Michigan. He's an OBGYN. He has used frequency-specific microcurrent in the treatment of women for obstetrics and gynecology, and has done things that no one ever would have thought possible. And he's getting ready to actually publish his research paper on what happened in the hospital after women delivered babies and how quickly they healed. So there's all these different specialties that have popped up where people have just dove in and specialized in areas and really, really honed how to use these frequencies.
You all started out with some general knowledge of the tissue frequencies and pathology frequencies. I think that maybe is the common link to every one of the experts that you just described, where they took their knowledge of programming a device to be compatible with the frequency of the tissue as well as incompatible with the frequency of the pathology, and then they designed programs from their particular vantage point of the areas they specialized in. I think what that points to is the versatility, how versatile these devices really are, that those who have a level of expertise in one area versus another can hone in their clinical expertise and make the device do what they need to have it done. It seems like the possibility here is limitless for microcurrent. Do you see it that way? Because that's the way I'm getting it.
It is limitless. What the only thing that limits what we can do with microcurrent is our failure to dream, think it up, or have the knowledge to know. So the people that are willing to ask all the questions and say, I wonder if, could we, is there, where is this coming from? Those are the people that are able to take it to places we never thought possible. So people are doing treatment with microcurrent and helping people in ways that no one ever would have thought possible.
And even though microcurrent, as you say, has been around, I'll use the word around, in a rhetorical sense. For so long, it's that as practitioners are becoming skilled in the use of this, we haven't even, I believe, from what I hear, even scratched the surface of the potential that these devices can ultimately bring as more and more practice. Because I don't think many practitioners even know it exists right now yet. And so we're at least in the infancy stage of that, wouldn't you say, Shannon?
We are in the infancy. And more people will learn because more and more consumers will be asking for it and demanding it as part of their care when they know what's possible. And the other point I want to go to, Dennis, is something that you said in the very, very beginning of our conversation about me coming up there to see how you're using it and how you're programming it. What I have learned from all the practitioners that have come in to visit with me, the practitioners that I have trained, I allow people to come in and intern and shadow me in my clinic. And what I have learned from them, practitioners aren't making mistakes or doing things, wrong, so to speak, when they're programming devices. It's just that we have been so trained and limited on what is possible with conventional medicine that people have it drilled into their head that there's nothing that you can do about trigeminal neuralgia. There's nothing you can do about spinal cord inflammation. There's nothing you can do about a closed head injury except rest in time. There's nothing you can do about a fracture except wait for it to heal. We've all had that drilled into our heads, and until someone says, wait a minute, here's a paradigm shift, you can do this completely different and this is possible, that's when people get the aha moment and it shifts. So as soon as we get practitioners to shift out of their limited beliefs because of how they were indoctrinated by medicine on what is possible and what's not, once we do that, it's a game changer, and then that's where you see these vertical learning curves where things change for people because now they say, I bet it's possible, I just don't know what it is, and then they look for the information.
Powerful.
So
powerful.
I'm going to give you limitless opportunities and possibilities when I'm there in 2 weeks.
Looking forward to it. I think we have another knock on the door. Come on the store. You're with Shannon. Go right ahead. What's your question?
Hi. Would this be of any help for me? I have a partial rotator cuff tear. Yes, I've had it like about 3 years. Yes, and taking supplements.
She's answered yes twice already. Go ahead. You're chomping at the bit, Shannon. I know this is right up your alley.
So it's a partial. We have had a few people that have had complete tears. There is a doctor in Virginia Beach whose name will go unmentioned. And she actually had someone with a full tear and she was able to heal that. The rule of thumb is you can't put tissue back that's not there. However, we have a few occasions where that has not turned out to be true, and we have. However, if we have a partial anything, we have frequencies that actually heal and knit the tissues back together.
Oh,
so
fantastic.
Everybody that I know that treats shoulders that uses specific frequencies and knows how to do the rehab and the retraining has had tremendous success with shoulders.
There you go. Great question. Great answer. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Courtney. Yes.
Very good. We're coming up in the home stretch now, Shannon, and I think you're really generating a lot of excitement. But first of all, listeners have been excited with the potential of microcurrent for a number of months now. They've heard me talk about how effective this microcurrent has been through the use of eye programs. It's just unheard of, the kind of work that Dr. Ed Conrad has done, and how he's able to turn around diseases that do not have a treatment in the conventional realm, and to find out there's an application that may be available for them in a non-eye problem is exciting, first of all, to me, but exciting to people listening to us right now, because their problem may actually have a way to be solved. And so you bring that ray of sunshine through a window, ray of hope. How is it that you want to leave our discussion today for listeners who have seen the light coming through that window now? It's a lot brighter than it was 4 or 5 months ago. Certainly really brightened up today. Where are we going to be 6 months from now, Shannon?
Oh my gosh, with a lot more happier, healthier people being able to move more and do more, for sure. And certainly the goal will be, Dennis, that we will be able to get some training in Pittsburgh, and we'll be able to generate more interest from practitioners and get more people trained so more people can get help. And Dennis, if I can just put it out there right now, if you don't mind, I actually would like to invite some of your listeners to come out to the office on January 30th, which is a Saturday, and do a meet and greet. We're going to be in the office all day. Let's set a time up and invite 25 people if they want to come in and meet me, see the equipment, see what the equipment does. We can do some demonstrations, and anybody who wants to call in and come, up to 25 people. Let's put that out there. And
the next 25 people that call, we're going to save a seat for you. Shannon said she'd do it, and so she's going to be here anyway. We planned on being in the office. We can take an hour and a half to allow Shannon to just take the floor and give you a question and answer period. If you are afflicted and you're wondering about your particular problem, come out and meet Shannon. Give us a call here at 724-942-3002. First 25 people that give us a call, you get a seat. How about that, Shannon?
That would be terrific, Dennis. I would love to meet your listeners.
One final question that I have, because I think after learning that there are places in this country based on an exceptional physician that's taken microcurrent in their particular level of expertise and taken things to a level that only they've been able to experience because they've used microcurrent. And I get this impression you know them all, okay? And so is there a way that, like if I have a gynecological issue going on with a patient that I see, is there a communication between you or me or us so that we could get the input from doctors like the one in Michigan that does gynae and somebody else in Virginia that does something else? Is there a network out there developing?
We are starting to put that network together. And for me, Dennis, because of my years of teaching and working with all these different practitioners and coming together with them, 1 to 2 times a year to find out what they're doing. I personally know most of those practitioners and can call them if I need help with something. We do have a way that consultations, physician-to-physician consultations, are put together so a physician can gather all the clinical information and set up a consultation with another physician to get the information back, and then they continue to treat their patient. So rather than referring out, we do a physician-to-physician consultation on behalf of the patient in order to get the information. And most of these physicians are used to doing that.
That's what I wanted to hear. That's what our listeners wanted to hear. And our learning curve, is going to be extended vertically, like you say. It wouldn't do us any harm to get the input from the experts in any given area that makes us more well-rounded within the scope of what we're doing. Shannon?
And I've spent my life doing that with everyone. You don't have to know everything, Dennis. You just have to know the people that know what you don't.
That's what my listeners want to hear. Shannon, this was a great show today because it was the first time we let the listeners come on in here and probe us a bit. There's going to be more and more of that each and every time you come back. I want my listeners to feel they can always ask Shannon the question. Hey, they can ask Shannon the question face to face. But the date of that, Shannon, is the 31st of
thank you.
Which is Saturday. So I'll come up with a time. Give us a call if you think you'd like to be one of the 25 to meet Shannon and get yourself started with microcurrent. Number 724-942-3002. Shannon, thank you for the wonderful show today. We'll be talking and looking forward to your visit up here to Pittsburgh. And yes, we are going to Mallorca, if you know what I mean.
Yay. Thank you so much, Dennis, and I look forward to seeing all of you in 2 weeks.
All right, there you have it. Thank you very much, Ann.
Bye-bye.
Right at the crescendo moment, Bill has hit the gong 3 times, signaling our time out of here. I want to thank you very much for being with us today. This show will now be archived on the site, and go to it and enjoy it once again. This is Dr. Dennis Courtney. Looking forward to seeing you on Wednesday. Until then, saying so long for AM Impact on your health.